Something I get asked all the time is, Zan, how do I paint this? So instead of doing a full demo for you guys today, I just want to share what I see when I look at this and how I would get started. This is a square reference, so a square canvas makes things a lot easier. The shape that I'm looking for here is this. And you'll notice that I simplified all the nice soft curves of this kitty into a bunch of straight lines. It's so much easier for my brain to understand what a straight line and an angle is than what a curve is. It's just pure variables. So for example, if I want to get this line in the right place, I know it goes from like kind of there-ish to kind of maybe a third of the way across. And I can do that with all of these. What's that? A little more than a third. It helps that these are the same size, but you can do this, well, they're not quite, but you can do this with pictures that are not the same size too, and it's really helpful. I'm going to try and find this low point here. And I'm just making this much simpler. By focusing on kind of this space, the negative space, it's also easier for my head to not get, confused by the fact that I'm drawing a cat and try to draw what it thinks a cat looks like and instead draw what's actually on the page in front of me. That's starting to look like the same shape. Let's get a few of the features in and then I'll move on to the next biggest thing that I'm looking at. The eyes are probably the hardest part. I might not get these right in the right spot, so let's just leave those for now and go on to the next thing. Now, I don't usually use a color wheel, but what I do use, what I love about these is this gray scale. And you can get these just as a standalone thing. They're cheap. They're just a piece of paper that tells you how gray is something. So if I slide this onto my reference here, I can see, well, it's not black. And it's not white. It's somewhere in between. Easy for me to tell with my eyes. That's black. That's white. But what the heck is this area? Well, here's my kind of 50% gray. So I know that it's less than 50%. And I can see that, I think it's about here. So that's just a little lighter than a 50% gray. I can also use this to see that up here, almost the same. Down here, this is darker. So even though this whole area looks about the same value, it actually is a gradient from light to dark. Knowing that, I can start filling that in. Let's see if I've got a gray pen here. It's kind of a hard color to find in pen, so let's use a stick of graphite. And now I'm going to be looking at the gray shape. The gray shape kind of goes up here, comes down a bit like that. I'll just turn that into a straight line for simplicity's sake. You can see the ear comes down in front of that lovely fluff. Very important. Yeah, close enough. Now I'm going to start by shading it all in the lighter shade, because even the dark part is at least that dark. And then we're going to look at getting this darker part just a little darker. And it's kind of neat that just by doing this, just with this one simple gradient, this starts to look like a round cat. couple other things to note. Because I've got white and a bit of a neutral gray, I want to make a background that this is going to really pop against. So the original background is not as dark as this. I'm going to make it as dark as this. I want these spots, these highlights, to really pop. I'm using felt with this, but you can do this in acrylic, you can do this in oil. These principles apply across all media. You want contrast? Go dark on light. You've got the only other dark areas, like truly black areas, are the eyes and a little bit of the shadow in here. And then that shadow just kind of fades out like the cat does. Then you have white, white on the cat, and white on the cat. Already, this is most of the portrait, really. A couple other things I could note, again using my grayscale. Slide that on there. Looking at the darker shadows under the chin versus the fur here. Slide that over. There's the fur. There's the darker shadow. Those two grays are really close together. It is super tempting when you're starting out to do this. That's going to be black. Because you know it's an edge, and your brain knows it's an edge. But if you can just make it a little bit darker, not a ton darker, just a little bit darker than the area around it, much softer. That way you don't wind up with those really deep wrinkles. If you ever wind up with a really deep wrinkle, just lighten it up a little. Just because there's an edge there doesn't mean you have to be going black to white or white to black. The other dark-ish areas I see are under the fluff right here. And there's a shape right here that almost all cats have. And I'm just going to highlight that and this one, because these are areas that tell you how the cat's head is shaped. So I start filling those in, particularly this one here. And you can start seeing that this starts looking more and more like a cat. As far as colors go, I would stick with a cooler background and just a slightly warmer gray for our kitty here, with a bit of pink, ears, and nose. And because this ear is in the light, this ear's a little bit in the light, those will be really pure. Those will be like a cadmium red light mixed with white. This one, though, that's in the shadow. That's going to be cadmium red light mixed with this gray. I hope that's been helpful. If you're watching this and you'd like a breakdown of your own reference photo, hit the link in the show notes and I'll give you some details on that. Hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.